and I will reintroduce my guests in studio. On the extreme left, we have Wana Schultik, who is the Kenya representative of UNICEF. And of course, he will be giving us a global perspective of the World Toilet Day and the progress that the world is making towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goal 6 on sanitation. Thank you very much for coming in studio, Wana. And on my immediate left, we have Dr. Kefa Umbacho, who is the Director of Public Health at the Ministry of Health. And here we will be getting a local perspective on the strides that we have made. Looking at the figures, there are a lot of Kenyans who are still using the open space defecation. And of course, we'll be taking a look at what exactly the government is doing to improve the sanitation of its people, build more toilets if that is what would make it happen. But thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming into studio. I will start with you, Wana. We have two themes, one on the global space and we have another on the local front. On the global, we have the toilets and jobs, but locally we are spreading the word to stop open defecation. Yes. Why do we have these two themes? What drove you to get the two of this?
I think that specifically for Kenya and indeed for many countries in sub-Saharan Africa, the issue of open defecation remains of great importance. To give you a few figures, about 23% of the population in sub-Saharan Africa defecates in the open. In Kenya, that is about 12%. So Kenya is doing better than the sub-Saharan average. But if you compare the situation in Kenya with, for example, Rwanda, where only 2% of people defecate in the open, Kenya still has a lot of room for improvement.
Looking at the figures that he's just talked about, what exactly are we doing to reduce that number from 23% to the bare minimum of the people who defecate in the open?
Thank you very much. In Kenya, currently we have, as he has indicated, 12%. That's around substantive number of people. That's like 2.5 million Kenyans who are all defecating openly. But we are aware, we have the statistics. So what we have done is that deliberately we have actually been having a deliberate move to scale up access to the toilets. And in trying to do this, policy documents have been put in place. We have come up with the roadmap, which is actually what guides us in implementing the access, accelerating up. And in the roadmap, we have also tried to bring all those players as a ministry coordinating. Of course, UNICEF has been a very key partner in this area. And we have actually tried to see which are the areas which are more affected. We have called in place a national dialogue meeting in 2014. Basically, why we called for this meeting was to interest the counties to be able to put money in the area of sanitation. Actually, if we look at the disease burden in Kenya, and even generally in the Sub-Sahara and the developing countries, you find that 50% of all the disease burden that we are actually grappling with are diseases which, if we manage our sanitation and environment, would be okay. And to come closer home, we are aware that from the year 2014, December, up to sometimes earlier this year, and even currently, we have some counties which are having an ongoing transmission of cholera to the extent of also diarrhea. That can be stopped because we spend a lot of energy, we spend a lot of resources in terms of drug, we waste a lot of time for our people.
You've mentioned something very important. You've mentioned that you have on paper policy roadmaps, you've called for meetings on national dialogue, but what exactly is happening down on the ground after you identify the areas that are most affected? What have you done on the ground? Have you tried to raise awareness about the need to construct latrines or whatnot?
As it were, the responsibility of the national government is to create capacity and also provide the policy. Indeed, the ministry, together with the other stakeholders who work with us at the national level, we have developed that capacity within all the counties in this country. As we talk, 43 counties are actually deliberately having an effort to try to have their people, their population within their county, geographical county areas, to be able to accelerate train coverage. We wish to tell you that basically what we want to see as a country is that all counties should be open defecation free. And in this country, we have Busia, which is one of the very first areas that have been able to be declared. Of course, we will be able to address the challenges of sustaining that open defecation free status. As we talk right now, Isiolo, Kitui, Siaya are also counties which are actually moving. If I can talk about Isiolo, Isiolo is almost 58% in trying to actually scale up. But generally speaking for Kenya, if we look at our statistics, the percentage scale up up to where we are is up to around 300% scale up. But that's not very good because we are all aware that 5.2 million Kenyans are actually defecating in the open. So there is a deliberate move from the ministry that reaching 2020, based on our own simulations, we will have an open defecation country at 2020. Of course, going back, 2013, we had an attempt. Of course, we were aware that we were most unlikely to meet the target, but it was very nice for us because two things. One, it gave us the energy to be able to aspire to be open defecation.
All right.
We also learned lessons out of that.
Okay,
right.
Okay. 2020 is about 4 years from now, so we'll have that conversation again in 4 years. Juana, back to you. When we talk about the Sustainable Development Goals, Goal 6 is on sanitation. We have about 14 years to 2030. Would you say that we are on course?
Well, if you consider that out of the, 68,000 villages in Kenya, about 5,000 now are considered to be free of open defecation. We definitely have a long way to go. It doesn't mean that Kenya cannot do it. I'm convinced that if, let's say, at the district and the county level, action is being taken, that very fast progress is possible. I would like to underline again, though, when you opened, you mentioned something, it's a topic which is not frequently discussed. People may smile about it and say, oh, yes, it's okay. But consider this. Every year, about 9,500 children die before reaching their 5th birthday because of diarrhea in Kenya. Many girls will drop out of school, especially during the period of the month when they have their menstruation, because there's no toilets in school. In many health centers, women are at risk of becoming infected because there's no toilet in a health facility. So it's not so innocent, let's say, not to make real serious progress. Also, because of the number of people who fall ill and because of the requirement for treatment for disease, Kenya loses every year about 57 billion shillings because of a lack of sanitation. That's an assessment made by Oxford University. And it was released recently during the Japanese meeting, which was held here in Nairobi. So it's an important issue. As was mentioned, it's not rocket science to make progress. You need basically two things. You need good plans at the county level to be in place with a systematic approach towards improving sanitation, making sure that materials and knowledge are available, and that can be done. Secondly, you need to really raise awareness among the community. This is not something which is okay to do. It needs to be tackled. So from your own assessment, do you think we're making progress as a country? Yes, we are. All right. A few years ago, only 1,000 villages were open defecation free. Now we are at 5,000, and that's fast progress. All right. What do you think we should put most of our focus on
for us to achieve the sustainable goal 6? And this perhaps could not just be on Kenya. Let's look at the sub-Saharan region as well.
Yeah. Well, in the broader area of clean water and sanitation, the most important issue for us is to get rid of open defecation. To me, that stands out. And it's not only in rural areas, but also in urban areas. And I think we need to think of innovative ways. We need to get the private sector involved. We need to do better with our communication. And we need, I think, to be better in the real planning and the utilization of resources at county level.
Dr. Ombacho, when we look at the figures, most of the areas that are affected that are not open defecation free are rural communities. And these are the same communities where talking about toilets and open defecation is a taboo. What are we doing to overcome this taboo? Because it seems to be the biggest challenge when it comes to tackling this problem in the rural setting.
And you are right, because basically it is lack of knowledge and also level of education actually go hand in hand. And also the attitude issue. I think these are very basic things that we require to change in any setting, Kenya or any other place. But let me just talk about Kenya. But if you look at those statistics anyway, there is a lot of variance. You will find that there are some counties where access is over 80%. And yet there are some counties where you go, you will find that it is actually below 10%. But what we are giving is the average. But what we aspire is to be able to get an improved percentage scale up, which means that if the counties and the country did things differently from where we are, if we just tilted it slightly and we actually move 1%, those are the simulations I was talking about, we would have a very steady access. Now, let me mirror from what you said. Out of the Oxford University studies of what we lost, let me now say, how much do we require to fix this? We only require to fix this with between 28 to almost 32 billion, dependent on the exchange rate in this country. But of course, each county will be having a different way of doing it. Currently, we are happy that there are some counties which have actually taken a very deliberate positive move to be able to put money in preventive health, where the bigger area of preventive health is actually to fix the sanitation and even monitoring the water to be able to minimize the risk. And yes, we are happy because by so doing, they are reducing the percentage. But also, if they can, if this can also work hand in hand by introducing the steady scaling up of access, I think as a country we will be able to be somewhere. Because I've said, if we look at what we have been able to do, and that actually goes hand in hand with what one has said, is that what we have been able to achieve is actually around 300%. But I've said that's not good enough. Because if we are having 5.2 open defecating, it means all of us are at risk of contracting the diarrheal disease or any other communicable disease that actually is passed through a fecal matter. Yep.
When we talk about the goal that you just said, we are targeting 2020 to be open defecation-free country, but do county governments really understand their role in this particular process? And if so, what are they doing towards it?
You realize that as a national government right now, we are not actually the ones who are in functional level who are supposed to be doing it. So we won't be having a plan which is not having all inclusive. As I've indicated, we have even also tried to bring in private and public actors, NGOs together, so that we harnessed the resource package. Of course, the ministry is not taking that resource, but we want each actor to declare how much in terms of resource are they having, so that this is actually linked into the roadmap. The roadmap is all about the strategies and interventions that we want to apply to be able to reach what our target is. And these targets will also have a variance because each county will be having, will have to have a buy-in, use the same interventions, but the percentage in terms of access and the population will be different.
All right.
Yes.
The global theme we have is toilets and jobs. We are spreading word that toilets save lives, they increase productivity, they create jobs. What exactly is the link?
Well, the link is like you mentioned. Building and putting up toilets creates job opportunities, maintaining structure creates opportunities. And on the other hand, the prevention of falling ill makes that people are able to continue to work and are not losing any days out of their jobs. And I think in that sense, when you think about investments and when you think about planning, it's certainly more attractive to plan bigger factories and roads, maybe bigger hospitals. But I think it's time to realize that planning around the humble toilet is maybe a very wise investment.
So how exactly are corporates involved in achieving these particular goals, especially on the international front? Are they involved first?
Yes.
Yes, I think they are. Certainly some big international companies are very much interested in the broader theme of clean drinking water and sanitation. And I think also it's important to realize that especially when you go to villages and to counties, the possibilities to stimulate local economy around this is an important issue.
All right.
So that needs to be taken up.
I think for us in Kenya, just like we are talking about, it looks like it is something that talking about toilet and the use of toilet is and even in global, even in Europe, is something like that. We should be talked secretly. Nobody should be able to understand.
In whispers.
In whispers. But I think all of us know that a toilet is a utility, is a very critical utility. In this country, we have tried to interest private sector that there is money in engaging in business in sanitation. There is money in engaging in trying to come out to reduce, of course, reducing the cost of access will mean that we must even also innovatively make some utilities like equipment, like a pan, a toilet pan. If it was, for example, 1,000 shillings, we can make the same material with a lesser cleaner material, reduce the cost. So they are there. Even the banks, they are giving collateral to some families.
Quickly, I understand we don't have too much time, but this year's World Toilet Day here in Kenya is being held in Isiolo. Is there a specific reason why we picked that particular location?
Isiolo is in Kenya. And we thought we should also interest, especially the migrating population, to get to understand the beauty and the whole connection between disease and the use of toilet. So Isiolo has been one of those areas which has actually picked very well. And even in terms of investments, they have put some money in their own budget. In the report that I've just given, I've given that Isiolo, in terms of access and acceleration, they are almost at 58. That's not very bad for that place. And we would wish to use Isiolo as one of the running example for those populations.
Okay.
All right.
Going forward, Wana, as we wrap up, what do we expect to see?
My dream would be that if I meet you here next year, that we don't have one county to be counted as open defecation free, but maybe at least 15 or 20. And actually, I don't see a reason why we shouldn't be able to make that.
Yourself, Dr. Mbacha, as we wrap up?
I think as a country and as Kenyan, and we have read in many things, I believe strongly that we can be able to read this. My appeal to the counties is that let us prioritize issues of preventive health to the extent of sanitation. It is awkward for us as a country to be reporting issues like cholera because these are simple diseases that we can be able to control. And to control it, people must use a toilet and people must have access to a toilet.
Well, prevention is better than cure. That's basically what you're saying. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming in. There you have it. The facts, the numbers are too huge, unbelievable when you look at a country that is said to be developing in every other front. But when it comes to such things like health and sanitation, we're still a bit lagging behind. But as I say, there's still hope. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming in. On my immediate left, we have Dr. Kefa Ombacho, who is the Director of Public Health at the Ministry of Health. And we also have Wana Shutlink, who is the Kenya representative from UNICEF. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming in. Let's continue with this conversation on the social media at KTN News, on Facebook as well at KTN News. You can tweet me at Akisa Wandera, just your thoughts on whether we are making progress as far as sanitation and toilets, especially go, especially at the county governments. This was our special coverage of the World Toilet Day. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Akisa Wandera. Let's